안녕하세요. We are going to learn how to use the possessive particle 의 and how to express the English preposition with and the conjunction and in this lesson. Let's go. Let's learn how to make possessives in Korean like my, our, his, her, their, even your on this page. You basically use the possessive particle 의. It is a bit hard to pronounce this particle 의, so a lot of learners don't really like this one, but I have a good news for you. Stay tuned. You already know how to say my in Korean, right? Yes, 제. The truth is, the original form of this 제 is 저 plus the possessive particle 의, 저의. 제 is the contracted form of 저의. And you can keep using 제 instead of 저의. That was the first good news. No worries, it will get better. So my house is 제 집, needless to say. Next, our. The pronoun we use to mean we in Korean is 우리. So the possessive our is 우리 plus the possessive particle 의, 우리의. Koreans use our instead of my, especially for family members, workplace-related things, and the house they live in. So we tend to say our house rather than my house, even if it is actually your house and you live alone. Just cultural thing. Now the second and the best news for you. Fortunately, this possessive particle 의 can be omitted or is understood most of the cases. Even Koreans don't use this particle 의 that often, simply because it can be understood and omitted. So, our house is supposed to be 우리의 집 with the possessive particle 의, but you can just say 우리 집 without the particle 의. No problem at all. Let's see if this can apply to other possessives. His can be 그의, but you never really use 그의 in spoken Korean. You can still use it in written Korean, but only in novels or in news articles. So you don't really need to know this unless you want to write a novel or a news article in Korean, as we use that man, 그 남자, instead of he in Korean. You say that man's house instead of his house. You already know this 그 sound is used to indicate something or someone. The listener already knows what or whom you're indicating, right? That man's. This apostrophe s can be expressed by the possessive particle 의. So 그 남자의 집, that man's house. But fortunately, you can omit the particle 의. So you can just say 그 남자 집. No problem at all. If you want to sound more polite to that man who is not even here but whom the listener knows who it is, you can add 분 sound after 남자. 그 남자분. That man's house. 그 남자분 집. I call this kind of a noun a higher respect noun. 분 is basically the higher respect form of 사람, a person. You will learn more about higher respect forms in lesson 5. If you use higher respect forms, you will sound even more polite than general honorifics. Next, her or her house. The same thing applies to the possessive her. You can see 그녀의 in novels or in news articles, but you don't need to know that, as we use that woman, 그 여자, instead of she in Korean. You say that woman's house rather than her house. That woman, 그 여자. That woman's. Again, this apostrophe s can be expressed by the possessive particle 의. That woman's. 그 여자의. But you can omit it. So that woman's house. 그 여자 집. If you want to sound more polite to the third person, that woman, because the listener knows her very well, 그 여자분. That woman's house. 그 여자분 집. Okay? Next, that person's house. If you want to sound gender neutral, 그 사람 집. If you want to sound even more polite, 그분 집. You don't say 그 사람 분 집 because 분 basically means 사람. You don't need to use the same word twice, so just 그분 집. Next, there. It's plural, so that people's house. 그 사람들 집. You know, 들 sound is used to make plurals in Korean, and the possessive particle 의 can be omitted. If you want to sound even more polite, 그분들 집. Next, your house. This one is interesting because I told you that Koreans don't really use the pronoun you in honorifics. But sometimes you really need to express your to be clear, right? Then you can use the word 본인. 본인 basically indicates the owner of the situation or the action that you are talking about now. So think about it. The pronoun you can be understood and omitted in Korean honorifics because the second person you already knows that you are talking to or talking about him or her, which is the second person. If you use this word 본인 in the sentence, it will indicate the second person you, which is already understood and omitted. Make sense? So your house can be 본인의 집, but the particle 의 can be omitted. So you can just say 본인 집, your house, where the subject is you, which has already been omitted. Of course, 본인 can also be used to indicate the third person, he or she as well, if the subject of the sentence is he or she. Got it? Okay. This particle 의 can be omitted even when you use a general noun plus apostrophe s. That friend's house. Friend is 친구. Friend apostrophe s. 친구의 house. 집. That friend's house. 그 친구의 집. But 의 can be omitted. So you can just say 그 친구 집. And it means that friend's house. So you can see that you don't need to change the order of the words when you say something apostrophe s something. Amy's boyfriend, Amy의 남자친구. But 의 can still be omitted. So Amy 남자친구 is enough. How about this one? Gangs of New York. Where the English preposition of is used after a noun which specifies a particular part of something to introduce the thing that it is a part of, or where of is used to combine two nouns when the second noun gives more information about the first noun. You can use the possessive particle 의 for of, but the word order has to be switched. The second noun New York comes first, and then the particle 의 attached to it, and the first noun gangs comes at the end. So gangs of New York will become New York의 gangs in Korean. You might want to ask if this 의 can also be omitted, right? Yes, it can, but I would not. Well, I'll say where 의 is used, like the apostrophe s, you can always omit it. But sometimes you still need to use it for the preposition of to explain the relationship of two words clearly. Hope you think about it yourself when you have enough time. Now let's learn how to express the preposition with in Korean. Let's see the English sentence. I go to the library together with my friends every day. The word order is going to be more like I, every day, with my friends, together, to the library, go. I, 저는, every day, 매일. 매일 can be an adverb too, and it doesn't indicate a point in time, so you cannot add a time particle 에. With my friends, it is going to be more like my friends with in Korean, and you're going to use one of these particles for the with part. 과와, 하고, or 이랑 랑. Yes, you have three options. 과 and 와 is a set. 과 is used where there's a final consonant in the formal block, and 와 is used where there is no final consonant in the formal block. This can be a bit confusing because the 와 sound is used where there is no final consonant in the formal block, while other particles with a round empty iung consonant is used where there is a final consonant in the formal block. You can think this is an exception. Luckily, 과, 와 is not really used in spoken Korean. Next particle, 하고. This particle 하고 would be the most useful for you because it's not in pairs as a set. It's just 하고, regardless of the existence of the final consonant in the formal block. Next particle is 이랑, 랑. 이랑 is used where there is a final consonant in the formal block, as usual, and 랑 is used where there is no final consonant in the formal block. With my friends, friends is plural, so 친구들. My friends, 제 친구들. The 들 sound has a final consonant, so you need to use 과, 제 친구들과, with my friends. If you use 하고, 제 친구들하고. If you use 이랑랑, 제 친구들이랑. Let's use a singular too. My friend, 제 친구. With my friend, 제 친구와. The 와 sound is used this time because 구 sound doesn't have a final consonant. Let's use 하고, 제 친구하고. With 이랑랑, 제 친구랑. The 랑 sound is used because there is no final consonant in the formal block, okay? Let's go back to the main sentence. With my friends. It can be either 제 친구들과, 제 친구들하고, or 제 친구들이랑. Together, we can use either 함께 or 같이. I would say 같이 sounds more casual, which means 같이 would be more useful in spoken Korean. Did you notice something? 같이 is not pronounced as it is spelled. It is supposed to sound 같이, but it is pronounced 같이 with a 치 sound. I'll tell you why in the next page. It's just one of the sound changing rules. To the library. Library is 도서관 in Korean. It's the destination of the verb go, thus you use the destination particle 에. 도서관에, to the library. You can also use the direction and the destination particle 으로로, 도서관으로. I prefer 에 here because you don't need to indicate the direction unnecessarily here. Go, 가요. The present simple tense form is used because you go there every day. 저는 매일 제 친구들과 함께 도서관에 가요. 저는 매일 제 친구들하고 같이 도서관에 가요. 저는 매일 제 친구들이랑 같이 도서관에 가요. I go to the library together with my friends every day. Okay? Again, the particle 과, 와 is usually used in written Korean, so you don't really need to use it. Both 하고 and 이랑, 랑 are commonly used in spoken Korean. If you want to use just one particle all the time, I would recommend 하고 because it is not in pairs. And it is relatively easy to pronounce. Let's talk about the pronunciation of this word 같이 again. It is spelled 같이, so you think it would be pronounced 같이, but it is actually pronounced 같이. It is because of one of the sound change rules in Korean, where this d and t consonant meets the e or he sound in the next block. The final d consonant or t consonant, needless to say, moves up to the initial of the next block because of the sound linking rule, but it changes its sound to either G or chi sound. Let me make it a little bit simpler. Final d consonant plus E sound becomes G sound. Final D consonant plus He sound becomes Chi sound. Final T consonant plus E sound becomes Chi sound as well. Final T consonant plus He sound becomes Chi sound as well. It's just a rule. There's no particular reason for that. It is originally written kat-i, and we learned that the round empty consonant iung in the letter block takes the sound of the final in the formal block. So it is supposed to sound kat-i, but according to this rule, because the final T consonant meets the E sound in the letter block, the T sound turns into the Chi sound. So it is not kat-i, unfortunately. It has to be kat-chi. But even if you forget this rule and pronounce it kat-i or kat-ti, as I always say, native speakers would understand what you're trying to say, and they might repeat it themselves with the correct pronunciation to make sure what they have just heard was what they thought it was. Then it will remind you of the correct pronunciation one more time. These pronunciation or sound changing rules can be overwhelming for you, but you're going to learn this language more from the sounds rather than the letters, so I'm not very concerned. You'll be familiar with all of these eventually as you keep studying and practicing. Let's move on. We're going to learn how to express the English conjunction and in Korean. Let's see the English sentence. I went to France and the UK. Amazingly, you can use the same particle that you used to express with. 과와, 하고, and 이랑랑. Okay? One thing you should remember is the fact that these particles cannot be used to connect two sentences as the English conjunction and can. Why? Because needless to say, 과와, 하고, and 이랑랑 are particles. Particles are added to a noun. You're going to learn how to connect two sentences in lesson 8. Let's reposition the words. The subject I comes first, to France and the UK comes after, and as you see the preposition to, this whole part is the destination of the verb went. So you can be ready to use the destination particle 에 for sure. I, 저는, to France and the UK. France is 프랑스 in Korean, but the UK is 영국 in Korean. Great Britain and England can be 영국 too. Yeah, in fact, the general public in Korea don't exactly know the difference between these names. So we tend to call them all 영국 without distinguishing them. Anyway, France and the UK. 프랑스와 영국. Or 프랑스하고 영국. Or 프랑스랑 영국. And then you need to add the destination particle 에 at the end. 프랑스와 영국에, 프랑스하고 영국에, 프랑스랑 영국에. Yes, you just need to add a destination particle 에 once at the end. went, 갔어요. 저는 프랑스와 영국에 갔어요. 저는 프랑스하고 영국에 갔어요. 저는 프랑스랑 영국에 갔어요. I went to France and the UK. Yes, you can use any of these particles, but as I told you, 하고 and 이랑랑 are more commonly used in spoken Korean. What can you infer from the fact that you can use the same particle for with and? What is the common characteristics of the preposition with and the conjunction and? What do you think? They both are used to indicate one thing is together with the other. So we can infer that the Korean particle 과와, 하고, and 이랑랑 are used to basically indicate one thing is together with the others. then you might wonder, what if we need to use both with and in the same sentence? The answer is very simple. You can use the same particle without distinguishing with from and or and from with. Let's see the example. I went to England and France with my friend. The word order can be like I, with my friend, to England and France, went. You can swap the position of with my friend and to England and France, no problem. 저는 with my friend, 제 친구와 제 친구하고 제 친구랑. By the way, Koreans don't really say 제 친구. We'd rather say 친구와, 친구하고, or 친구랑 without 제, because everybody would know that you're talking about your friend. If you don't mention it, it's understood. To England and France. 영국과 프랑스에, 영국하고 프랑스에, 영국이랑 프랑스에, went, 갔어요. Yes, you can use the same particle to express both with and in the same sentence. No problem. But if you want to distinguish them, you can use 하고 for one thing and the 이랑 랑 for the other. For example, 저는 친구하고 영국이랑 프랑스에 갔어요. Or 저는 친구랑 영국하고 프랑스에 갔어요. You can also use the same particle for both. 저는 친구하고 영국하고 프랑스에 갔어요. Or 저는 친구랑 영국이랑 프랑스에 갔어요. No, it is not confusing. This is the end of lesson 4 part 7. Let's learn how to express some English prepositions in Korean in the next lesson. 그럼 안녕히 계세요.